Welcome to the Journey to Happy podcast, where you get concrete tools for mindset work, my best tips for lowering your anxiety. And you also hear funny and encouraging stories from me and others who have stories to share. Around here, you'll discover the easy way to stop overthinking, to get rid of self doubt, and finally embrace a calmer, more confident you. I am Olga, your host, a former therapist, a life coach, wife, blissfully an IVF mother, and a coffee lover. I'm excited that you tune in today, and I'm honored to be on the journey with you. Hello, everyone. This is Olga, your host. Welcome to another episode of Journey to Happy podcast. I am super excited. I think you came across me. I was gonna say I came across Jaime, but I think Jaime reached out and said, "Hey, I think I've got something that your audience could benefit." And I am picky about who comes into the podcast, you guys, because I want to make sure that it really speaks my love language, that we're all sending you similar messages. And this will be Jaime Morocco is our guest today. And I'll tell you a little bit more about her in a moment. Actually, I'll let you tell them about yourself, Jaime. But she's in Florida. I'm a little bit jealous because we just got our first snowfall a few days ago, and it's getting really cold here. So I went to renew my passport this morning, Jaime, so that I can go to Florida in January. That's my goal, go on to the sunshine. But why I love Jaime and why she's here, you guys know I am a holistic coach. So I believe mind, body, and soul are connected. I am walking, living proof of that connection. And I love Jaime's message, has to do with, although she's a body transformation coach and mentor, she definitely in her messaging helps women understand the connection between mind, emotions, and then body. And so the approach that Jaime has to helping women permanently achieve a body that feels of highest alignment. I love how you describe that. So that it aligns to them, and it might be so different from their neighbors and our friends and our, but for you, that you feel that this is my body, it's in alignment with who I am, comes back to mind, heart, feelings. And so the holidays approaching, I thought it would be a perfect time to have Jaime in the podcast tell us all about the anxiety of eating foods around the holidays, of gaining weight or losing weight, whatever your struggle is. And although we're not going to be focusing on weight loss necessarily, I do want us to have a conversation between women because it's reality. We're all already preoccupied with what's going to happen over the holidays, how we're going to eat, what are we going to eat, what choices am I going to make? And we all have different tolerances for how this is going to go. And I just want people to enjoy the holidays, is what I was telling Jaime. I want every single woman who's listening to this podcast, who celebrates the holidays, to just feel, man, I can do whatever I want. And I love the question you ask is, who are you going to be while you're going to be enjoying these meals, eating this food, all of that. So, Jaime, tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you into this line of work, and I don't know, something that we don't know. Well, nobody knows you here yet. Tell us like something fun about you.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we're so aligned on so many things. I got into this line of work because I actually grew up. I was not in a healthy place with food, not in a healthy place with my body, and it really consumed me. I had health issues because of it. And, mentally, it was really hard because I didn't feel in alignment with my body. So one day I made a decision that I wanted to change that. And I wanted to, start to work on creating a new life for myself. So I released the weight that wasn't serving me. I became a completely different version of me. I stepped into a higher level of self-confidence. I attracted different opportunities and eventually, had the guts to start a business. And, I started my body transformation journey over 16 years ago. And, since then, I have become really passionate about helping women achieve the body that's of highest alignment to them using a combination of science, mindset, and energetics. And I think that this combination is so unique and so important because we have one camp in, the fitness space that is all about work out hard and push the body and, that masculine, go, go, go. And then we have a whole other camp that's like, well, just listen to your body and eat whatever you want and it'll magically happen. Right. And I feel like there's kind of this combination of the masculine energy and feminine energy that has to blend together within us so that we can, achieve our goal and then embody and trust ourselves to keep it. So that's a little bit about what I do. I would say something interesting and fun about me is that my husband and I kind of decided in April, which was, it's December now. We decided in April that we were going to pick up and move to Miami and change our life and be done with the Boston cold. And here we are. I'm all about bold moves and bold decisions and make the decision and the universe has got you. So that's kind of a recent little fun fact about me.
I love all of what you just said. I'm very intrigued about the science behind this explanation you're having. We did have an intuitive ear come to the podcast sometime this year. My God, it feels like this year has been forever long. And I loved that approach. And I do also, I've never had anybody who's like, go, 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 push, 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 because I'll be so against what I coach women to doing. But I do love the in-between. I think that it's not black or white, that there could be an in-between. And I'm so curious to find out more how that science piece comes into play. But also, I'm all about bold moves. So good for you. Pack those bags, let's go. And how's it going?
We love it. We weren't sure what we were going to think about living in Florida, but we started out renting our place in April and we loved it so much. We decided to, purchase it and make it, more of a permanent space for right now. And it's just, we live on the ocean and it's just really changed, my energy, and looking out on the ocean every day just makes me feel very expansive. So it's been a really beautiful thing.
Jealous. That's amazing. Good for you. All right, so let's just go into, explain to us that in between. How does science have anything to do with body highest alignment?
Yeah, totally. So I feel like there are two camps when it comes to body transformation, or there is the camp of quote unquote diet culture, which is conforming women to have a certain look and be a certain way. And then there is this whole idea of anti-diet culture, which is like, if you want to change your body, you're vain. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but there are undertones of that exist in both camps. And I really believe that it's not about being pro something or anti something. What about if we just ask ourselves the question, like, what would a body of highest alignment feel like to us? Right? Like, what would it feel like to you? And it's like you said, it's going to be different for every single person, right? Now, most women come to me wanting to release weight that they feel like is not serving them, right? So in that case, where the science comes into play is there is a very specific science and specific signals that the body needs in order to release not just weight, but adipose tissue, which is just a fancier name for fat, right? So there are certain things that we have to do in order to give the body those signals. Because if you think about it, releasing weight is a relatively new desire of humankind, right? Centuries ago, it was actually a survival mechanism to be able to store excess weight. And in some cultures, it was even a status symbol. And that's still true in certain areas of the world today. So if we do want to achieve a goal and we do want to achieve that goal efficiently, we want to put a process behind it, right? So the process that I help women that I put behind this, this goal is that I help them, achieve, the weight loss or body transformation goal that they desire. And then I teach them how to maintain it intuitively so that they have this set of tools and that they can really, trust themselves and just go out in the world and, feel embodied in that new identity versus like, oh my gosh, am I going to gain it all back? And kind of all of that fear that can come up. So I hope I answered that question. I guess I kind of went on a tangent.
So like essentially the science comes in how you instruct them, like how you read body signals and how they will then respond to those body signals to know what their body needs. And like, I'm sure, I mean, if you work with women who want to lose weight sometimes, and that's happened to me, we have like a very unrealistic number in our head of like what we should be our normal weight should be at, which could be like off for like, like you said, my body might not need to lose 20 pounds right now. I might not need to lose any, but my mind thinks I do. So, am I getting this correctly through body signs that you get and how the body's responding? You will be able to tell, like, or help that person be guided through a process of getting to their goal. Should their goal be
Yeah.
what's the body's goal as well, I'm guessing?
Yeah, totally. And I always ask my clients, and you bring up such a good point. Like, we put a number on a piece of paper. We're like, I have that goal in mind. We want to dig into the why. Because if we don't dig into the why, you might be thinking of this number because it's something some doctor told you 20 years ago, or you saw it in a magazine. Like, we have these anchors in our mind, right? And that might not even be the goal anymore. So asking ourselves, like, if I'm going to put in the pin in the sand and give myself a target that I want to work for, why is this the target that I'm working for, right? Same if you wanted to build a business, you want to have an idea in mind about where you want to go, but you want to know, why is that goal important to you?
Why that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's so important for maintenance of anything. Like, as a mindset coach, I want my clients to understand the purpose behind their goal, because if it's coming from a place of fear or scarcity, or that they think they're pleasing somebody by setting this goal, they will not maintain that goal. Like, they're going to find it like it's a lot of effort to do the things, to take the actions that will get them to the goal. And the moment that they don't feel anybody is keeping them accountable, they're out of that goal so quickly. They don't even have time to think about why they got out of that goal, but they simply did because it wasn't born from a place of importance to them. Like, it didn't meet their highest value. And I would imagine for women, this is true. Like, with the diet culture, we have all fallen into the trap of having to look a certain way, having to be a certain size. And we have our own judgment of what our body is. So I can imagine that being an easy mental trap that we fall for, where our expectations could be either related to a number. Like, for me, it's a number that I used to be, right? And people tell me like, yeah, but you now have more muscle, or like, and in my head it's like, yeah, but I still had muscle then. Like, so we can be so stubborn to a number because you used to have it maybe. And in the cases of never having it, well, you've never even had the evidence that you could be like that. That's what your body needs. I get that. I heard you talk about anxiety as it relates to the food we're eating. And because we're moving into the holidays, I like, what will you tell your clients, but also what will you be telling people who are not working with you, who are not particularly on a diet or wanting to lose weight, but they may have fear. I actually heard my best friend say this to me the other day over the phone, which is actually what made me want to bring you to the podcast. She said her nutritionist played an important role in helping her remove the fear she had about eating certain foods like carbs that she then thought would make me gain the weight back. And I just had to take a moment back. I'm like, you had fear of eating foods? You had fear of gaining weight back? Like, it I don't know why, but it shocked me. So I work with women who have anxiety over a million things. That's never been the subject of conversation for me and my clients. So what sort of wisdom do you have throughout the holidays while people are eating? Like, I would love to give everybody permission to do what feels I don't know, intuitive for them. They feel like doing and eating. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love this question. And I'm going to give two different answers because I think they're both very important. They support each other. One is a more science-driven answer, and the other is a more energetically driven answer. So I'll start with the energetics because that's really my favorite thing to talk about. So it's not just what we eat, it's who we are when we're eating it. And research has actually proven this. I came across a research study that took two groups of people and they fed them the same food. And one group was in a state of stress, anxiety, guilt, or shame. And the other group was in a state of gratitude and happiness and peace. And what the researchers found is that metabolism could slow down as much as 30% in the group that ate in a state of guilt and shame, which is so interesting, right? Now, we can think about this energetically, right? Because we know that, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Dr. Emoto or familiar with his work, but he looked at like the he looked at the molecular structure of water when it was given certain thoughts, or people would say certain things to the water or think certain things about the water. And he found that things that were positive and things that were negative created different molecular structures within the water based off of the person. And if we think about food, food is made up of water molecules, right? So our thoughts about the food that we're eating can really impact not only the molecular structure of the food, but when we intake it, if we're in a state of stress, right, our metabolism can downregulate a lot, and it can literally become a self-fulfilling prophecy where people think, oh my gosh, this food item is not good for me and I feel so guilty eating it, right? And we see this all the time. And we all have those people in our lives who seemingly have never had any sort of perhaps negative relationship with food. They just seem to eat whatever they want. And sure, we could say that, genetics play a role, and I won't disregard that. But I think that there's something deeper here. And I think that if we tap into, this empowered state, and we say, what if my intentions over this food are really going to like dictate the way that it operates in my body? So I think that what can be really helpful during the holidays, and this is actually something very interesting that I found in my research, the intention behind a prayer, saying a prayer over food, was to actually get the food into a positive energetic state, which I find is so fascinating.
Oh, I'm gonna
Right?
start praying.
Yeah, isn't that so cool? So, if it's not a prayer, maybe it's an affirmation or whatever, or intention or whatever speaks to you, but just taking a moment to set that intention and set that tone of what you're eating, whether it's an apple or a piece of cake or a glass of wine or whatever it is. And that will calm your body and get you into more of a what's called parasympathetic state, which is the optimal state that we want to be in when our body digests food. So that I think that sitting down, taking your time, putting what you're eating on, pretty plates, or just even, just making sure to not eat in a distracted state if you're celebrating like with family and friends. So being really intentional about what you're eating. And I think we've also all had those experiences where we sit down with a piece of cake or a piece of pizza and we don't even remember we ate it, right? So it's like just being really intentional and thoughtful about the food that we're actually eating. So that's kind of in the energetics, how I would look at it. And I would sit down and be really mindful and set my intention over food. And the science of that, and I share the science because it really can ground us and give us a little bit peace of mind. So in order for our body to actually put on 1 pound of adipose tissue or body fat, approximately we would have to consume an additional 3,500 calories more than our body needs to maintain its weight. And if you're not familiar with calories, anyone listening, that's okay, but it's a lot of food.
A lot of food, trust me.
It's a lot of food. So one day is not going to break the bank. I mean, is it possible that one could eat that much? Yes, it's possible. But one day or even 2 days is not really going to cause, a whole bunch of rapid weight gain overnight. Now, might you see a little bit of fluctuation on the scale if you are choosing to weigh yourself? You might, because with extra food comes extra weight because you're carrying it around, and with it comes water, right? But is it true fat? Probably not. And if it is, you always have the decision to decide, do I want to release it? Am I okay with keeping it, right? Like there are always solutions. So hopefully that brings some peace of mind too.
I absolutely loved it. I especially loved the energetic aspect of it. I am getting all my coaching clients to read a book that I absolutely love by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which maybe you have heard of him, obviously. Breaking the Habit of Eating Yourself. And it's quantum physics, really, explained in psychological terms so we can all get it. But he also shows how research will tell us that intentionality, that energy that is put into our actions will create the results. And so it's all like I'm hearing this message everywhere I go. My eyes are open to it. And I'm like, oh yeah, there it is again. And you're using the word energetics. Food has energy. I think in a school, there is research too of a school where they put two trees or two plants, and one of them, the kids were instructed to bully the plant, and one of them they were instructed to just support it and love it. And so the plant that was being bullied, both were being watered, both were in the same place, same kind of sunshine coming in. Like they both, their physical needs were met, but there was the energy of the students talking to them. And the plant that was bullied lost all its leaves, dried out, went into sad motion. It felt it. And it
Yeah.
was just such a visual real, like, oh my God, our thoughts, our words, excuse me, that came from our thoughts carry energetic power. So I absolutely love, I love, love, love the message to all of you ladies listening here of going into the holidays so aware of when you're having thoughts that lead you to feeling guilty, when you're enjoying some delicious, I don't know, I'm Colombian. I think of like we just load up on carbs at Christmas. Every single Christmas street in my country is cheese and carbs all over. I love it. I love it because it's corn based and I can eat corn versus gluten. I'm gluten intolerant. So it's like, this is my time to shine. I get to eat all these carbs that only come about once a year. And I refuse to guilt myself because I'm enjoying a tradition that is so beautiful in my heart. And I absolutely love the prayer part. I went to Machu Picchu the second time about 5 years ago with my husband. And we stayed with an indigenous community, hardly spoke Spanish. Like they're very much still speaking Chipcha, I think is the language they speak. I don't know. And they made us go do like we followed them around their day. And so one of the things we did with the men, they allowed me to go in a men's day job, I guess, was to peel corn. And before they began to work with the corn, they had a drink, fermented something that they drink, not delicious. And they first salute all the mountains by name. And they ask us to salute the mountains from which we come from. So, Chris was thinking of like the mountains here in Canada, and I was thinking of the Andes. And like we were like, okay, I got it. And then they shared the first drink was to Mother Earth. They gave Mother Earth some of this fermented drink, and then we all had to take a sip. And for supper time, the same thing happened. They actually said, first and foremost, we're gonna thank Mother Earth for the food that is giving us, so that we can enjoy this meal. I'm all about gratitude. And now, I don't know, Asian cultures have something pretty cool, right? And so, look, prayer is just as old. And here is a logical explanation as to why that moment of gratitude is important. We're prepping our food. Listen, you're going to go into my temple, my body, and you're going to do some fantastic things, okay? And I'm going to enjoy you, okay? Deal. And then just do that all holidays as you're eating whatever it is that you absolutely love eating. And I'm the worst person to come up with examples because my diet is so freaking limited. But I just want you to think of the thing that your grandma makes, that your mom makes, that you're like, cannot wait to savor. Do it. And I challenge you to do it guilt-free and understand that if you do it with guilt and shame, that your metabolism will likely slow down. And so the thing that you think that might happen because of the guilt.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a powerful story too. It's like a true testament to like these are things that, ancient civilizations do, right? And somehow it's been a little bit lost as we've like gone about the centuries and the years, but they're still like carried and they're still passed down. And I think that, it just reminds us of our power, right? Of our power to, our power of thought, our power of words, right? Our power of intention. So that's so beautiful.
Oh, I love where this is going. Okay. So, Jamie, tell me a little bit more about this in between. So, I don't want to be on a diet. I don't necessarily like, personally, I love my body as it is right now. I'm
Mhm.
strong, I'm lifting heavier. That's a new passion of mine since I gave birth. I wanted to be stronger. So, I run a little less, I practice a little less yoga, but I'm lifting more. I'm really loving it. Like, my body needs this right now. So I'm not in any particular job of doing anything other than like keep doing what I'm doing. It feels very intuitive. I get up, I exercise, I'm eating enough food. This is how I became aware of calories, ladies. I don't know if this is true. Maybe Jamie, you would correct me, but I would care to say most of us are under eating.
Mm-hmm.
And then our metabolism will slow down and you will gain weight and you will think that you need to starve yourself. But really, what was my case, what was true for me is that I was under eating and my metabolism was slowing down. Now that I know, I had to, for some time, weight my food to understand how much protein I was eating. And as annoying as I would have, old Olga would have thought that was, it was so crucial for me to understand, to have a visual of what I'm eating so that I don't undereat. So I'm happy. I'm not striving for anything. So I would say I'm like in that in between, and I just stumble upon this in between. Okay, I didn't know anything other than like I'm just gonna do my thing and see what happens. How do you usually guide people there? Because I would want them to walk away with some sort of like steps to maybe feel how I'm feeling. Like I don't measure it based on the scale or um, really truly is how I feel. I like that I can do the things. I have energy all day long.
Yeah. So my best advice is if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. Yeah.
Doing what you're doing. I mean, I think that that's the ultimate goal. Like, I think that what you've described is living and being in this intuitive way is the goal for us, right? Because we don't want to feel out of alignment in our body. We don't want to feel like, oh my God, I'm so worried about food, or I'm beating myself up because I don't have a workout in. Like, I think what you've described is, such a beautiful place to be in. And that's that my wish is to take every woman to that place, right? Now, I think where we can, if you're in this place and you have other women who are also in this place, we're like, I'm just living my life. If you want to, kind of tune in a little bit, I would be really vigilant about the thoughts that you're having about certain food items. And also, what do you make it mean when you feel like you aren't sticking to your routine, right? Because we start to make ourselves wrong for a lot of things, right? So if, you have this healthy lifestyle, you're active, you're doing the things, and then you skip a workout or you skip a week, is it like, do you find yourself going down a spiral or beating yourself up or feeling guilty? I would say that's kind of the work there, right? Is to look at how am I talking to myself when I feel like I'm not, doing the things that I was going to do. So I think that, just being really aware of like, how am I talking to myself? Am I still carrying connotations to certain food items that I think are bad or good? Of course, you mentioned, I think, some food intolerances. So that's different because,
Yeah.
you
Actually bad for me.
yeah,
Legit.
right, exactly. But you want, if there are foods that you don't have intolerances to, but they might be like treat foods or something like that, like are we making that mean something that could be negative, and then we've developed almost this relationship with that food item that doesn't serve us? So that's what I would say.
I hate the cheat meal term. I'm like,
Yeah,
what? You're
yeah.
being unfaithful to whom? Like,
Right.
why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to be a cheater? Nobody. So why are we calling this delicious meal that you're eating today that might
Yes.
not be the thing that you eat every day? Why do you? I would, to me, that would be like my luxurious meal. I don't know. Give it a
Oh, I
different name.
love that term.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I can splurge. Today I'm going to splurge on this amazing meal. It's like, I don't know, when you can buy yourself something that you've been wanting to, you can
Right.
guilt yourself like, oh my God, I was able to afford this really expensive pair of shoes. Or you can say like, my God, how amazing is it that I get to? Do we buy those expensive shoes every time we buy shoes? Probably not, unless you're like, I don't know, it's like somebody who can. But the majority of people don't. So we just
Right.
enjoy them so much more because we're like, oh my God, I worked my butt off to buy this one thing or this one house or whatever, right? Like we don't buy a house every month. It's like the one thing that we buy once every 25 years. I'm joking. You might buy more. I don't know. My
No.
it's a luxury. And I don't even like the word indulging either because again, it's like you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
But it's such a privilege to sit down and have, that one meal that, yeah.
Totally. I love it. I agree. I don't like the word cheat either. I usually say the word treat, but I like what you said, luxurious. That's
It's
awesome.
nice, right? Like it is a luxury. So you feel kind of I always say guilt is the absence of gratitude.
Yep.
So, like, instead of feeling guilty in a donut, can you just bring gratitude to that? Like, oh my God, I got my hands into this delicious donut, and so I'm gonna eat it. But so let's say that the listener is not where I am. I honestly landed here through my own self work, and I didn't always love my body, and the listeners have heard about this. Although I've always had a super amazing body, super healthy, who's done amazing things, saved my life a few times. So yes, I'm so thankful to this body. And 2 years ago gave me the most amazing gift, my baby boy. And so I have nothing now but gratitude. And I have apologized to my body for how poorly I've treated it over the years for no good reason. But so if that person right now is overweight, like she's literally have gained over her weight because she might be on mental health medication that has done that, because she might have neglected really herself, and she's no longer cooking any meals, she's just eating fast food, and she's not happy. It doesn't feel like her body of alignment. She might not have that energy, or maybe she does, maybe she's not even overweight, she's just her regular body, but she's not feeling energized, she's not feeling in alignment. There is something about her body that doesn't match what's in her heart. How do you walk them to this place of bliss? What is sort of like a walk away? Hey, begin here. Do these 3 things or do these 2 things. How do they begin from being used to shame and guilt and a really toxic inner dialogue to maybe shifting that around?
Yeah, totally. Well, that's a really great question. And one thing that comes up for me there, like the very first step, and this is a Joe Dispenza quote. I'm so glad that you love Joe. He's amazing. Is the best way to predict your future is to create it. I think when we find ourselves in a cycle or a pattern or a space in our life that we don't feel aligned in, we automatically assume and focus that it's going to be like that forever, and we focus on it. We focus on all the wrong things. And we know that what we focus on expands, right? And in that moment, the first thing I would say to this woman is we've got to be more focused on your future, right? Than everything you feel like is wrong right now. I see you, I hear you, I know you're frustrated, I understand. But the more we focus on all the frustrations and all of the beating ourselves up, we're only going to get more of that, right? So the first thing is to give yourself like that vision, right? It doesn't mean that you don't love and accept yourself right now as you are. It means that you love and accept yourself so much that you're noticing a disalignment in your body and you want to do something about it, right? So I think that that's really the first step, but it's one that is so hard for people to do because they assume, and I talk about this a lot, like we assume like, oh, just because I've found myself in a space where I feel like I'm overweight or whatever, that's my identity. And it's like, it's not your identity. It's not who you are at your core and in your soul, right? It's a set of habits and behaviors and patterns that have accumulated over time. But in the same way that you've accumulated them, you can put them down, you can pick up new ones, and you can take steps to, the next version of yourself.
Like you can really sign your perception of this photo of you at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I mean, I personally only mentor and coach what I've walked through. And I love it. I feel like it makes for, the best relationship because
I think we just became best friends. Jamie.
Yeah, no, it's so powerful. And that's so cool that we both do that because I, in the same way that I was once eating McDonald's 4 times a week, not moving from my couch to be leading a different lifestyle now, I know that if I can shift my identity because I wanted to, any woman can, right? So it's almost like having that awareness that we can change. That's like the very, very first step.
And I would add to that we don't need shame, guilt, or worry to create the change. You don't need those emotions. Like, if I don't feel guilty, then how am I really going to stick to my habits? Or if I don't feel bad and shame or worry, like people argue with my clients, argue with me. But if I don't worry about losing my job, how am I going to keep it? I'm like, keep it because you enjoy it, not because you're afraid of messing up. Like this is when you talk about power. I want to make sure people understand we're saying you've got power of decision. And the decision is on your thoughts the thoughts, your perceptions, you get to decide what those are. Some thoughts just show up. We all have them. They're called automatic thoughts. But then we get to say, oh, I see you thought, no, I don't like you. I'm going to change you. And here is the thought that I'd rather have. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's perfect. And that's perfect because that's who we change who we are, right? It starts with the thoughts. And then if we accept those thoughts, they turn to beliefs, right? Then our beliefs dictate our actions over time are habits over time are lifestyle over time is identity, right? So if we want an identity shift, got to start with the thoughts that we're accepting as true. So I totally agree with what you said. That's awesome.
So then it would be awareness, right? Like be aware that you're guilting yourself or that you're shaming yourself for transformation versus just accepting where you're at. I would add compassion. Just
yes,
that's a big one for me. And then what? How do they take ownership? Let's say that they decide you talked about your personal experience of eating McDonald's 4 times a week, which I'm guessing you didn't feel good about that. And sitting on your couch, I'm guessing also that didn't bring you the results that were in alignment with yourself. But one day you decided, I want to feel differently. And so one of the actions that I'm assuming you took was like eating different at different places, not just McDonald's,
yes.
and out of your couch a few times. Somebody who might feel the heel is really high right now. Somebody who might be feeling a bit discouraged, like she may have attempted already, she may have seen a nutritionist, she may have, I don't know, done a diet failed. She may have heard the intuitive eaters coaches saying like, just be intuitive, eat what you feel, and she feels that she's just out of control. Where does she begin? Like, what will be a baby tiny step that she can just say, all right, I'll give myself some grace right now?
Totally. I think the first step is, and this is going to sound a little controversial, but I'm going to back it up. I think starting to write down or use an app to track your food, because and the way that I mirror this with my clients is I'm like, if you wanted to buy a home, if you wanted to start a business, we have to become aware of our current state and the inputs that are going in so that we can guide ourselves to a different outcome, right? So I know that it can feel really scary and sometimes triggering for people to hear, oh, track my food, but just like you said, it gives you awareness, right? Awareness of what you're eating and how it's impacting your body, right? Now, when you first start tracking your food, what I would do is, I would just track whatever you're eating right now and just be honest with yourself. You might be tempted to bring guilt or shame or judgment there. Get yourself to a neutral space, take a deep breath, write down what you're eating, look at it, and ask yourself, what changes could you make if you were like that next version of you? If you were at, in a body that felt of highest alignment, highest health, highest vibrancy, what decisions would she start making now? And if you can start making decisions from her versus I feel so guilty, I should lose 20 pounds, right? Then that's how you're literally going to start to reverse engineer your way, right? To change and step into her, right? But I think awareness is really the first step, because the science of, part of the science of actually changing the shape of our body means that if we overconsume food, the body is going to store it. This is just the mechanism by which things work, right? We could be eating avocado and chicken breast and organic fish and all the things blessed by the gods in the Himalayan mountains. But if there's too much food, the body's survival mechanism says, let's store it just in case there's a famine, right? So we need to be first aware of what we're eating, how much we're eating, and then we ask ourselves the question, well, what would that next version of me, do? And of course, I'm happy to get more into the science and numbers and all of that, but that's kind of the very first step, is just to create that awareness in a non-judgmental way and start to take different actions, because different actions lead to different outcomes.
And I will say that to me, I would always roll my eyes to keeping track of what I was eating. I'm like, oh no, I've got better things to do with my life. Thank you. But recently I did an 5th IVF treatment, and shortly after the loss of that baby, I gained a fast amount of weight. Like, it scared me how fast I was gaining weight, and I assume it was hormones, and it probably was. But also I had begun fasting, And so similar to what you were saying, like my body was like, we'll keep all the food, we're gonna store it because God knows when she's gonna give us food next. And as I said earlier, I never would have become aware of how much I was under eating had I not been keeping track. And now I know for a fact that's my default that I want, especially protein. I just want, I'll have a whole salad and then not know how much protein I'm putting. And then realize like now that I got used to a bit just understanding what my body needs. Now, this is important to anybody listening who's even against diet culture. It's the way I understand it for myself, and Jamie, you can correct me, is that I'm understanding what my body needs. And what I've realized that my body needed more food and that what kind of food I needed, right? Like I absolutely love vegetables. That's just my go-to. And my son steals broccoli from my plate. I've never seen a 2-year-old who wants to steal broccoli. I think he just got the gene that I have. We just love veggies, that's our thing. Do I love chips? Absolutely. Do I love all the other things? Yes. Pizza? All of it. However, I noticed that. So the journaling, I like to call it journaling. In my mindset work, I get my clients to journal their thoughts so that they become aware. And then they can choose if they want to change something. There is that choice again. But I would say, I guess I'm just an example of that before the journaling of my food, I would have said I eat enough and I eat healthy and I don't understand why I'm gaining weight. Really frustrated. And so I would say that piece of awareness allowed me to then decide and also notice how I was feeling, right? Like, wow, I had all this food today and I feel so energized. It does make a massive difference. Or I ate this food, I feel really sleepy and tired and bloated, and I like this feeling. So what could have been causing that? And that's how I picked up some of my food intolerances before I did blood work that actually tested and proved to me that was there. So that awareness, I think, is crucial. And just because I know we're coming close to our time, what will be like a second or third step that we could, or maybe there's only two. I always like the 3 steps. That's just OCD in my head. I'm like 1, 2, 3. What else do we do in 1, 2, 3s? One is awareness. Then choosing to do something with that awareness, I suppose, will be number 2.
Yeah. So the awareness of like your thoughts and the focus more on the person you want to become versus beating yourself up about now. The second step would be create awareness around food, right? Like just start journaling it, start, looking at that and deciding if you want to change something about that. The third thing is definitely more tangible. And I encourage walking every day. And there are so many benefits to walking. So I, try to get a certain amount of steps in every day, or I average it out over the week. Walking is one of the only exercise modalities that will reduce cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and get your body moving and get the blood flowing and be active, right? So it's such a beautiful activity because it gets you thinking creatively. It does help, with daily kind of, energy, burning through the day. And it's just it's so grounding. It's a time to really be present in your body. So actually in my programs, I don't even prescribe like any type of, high intensity cardio or anything like that. I have my clients walk and strength train because those are the 2 modalities that I find work best for the majority of women in their transformation. So I would start walking. If you're new to walking, maybe, you start for like 10 minutes a day, and then maybe you add in, work it up to 20 and then 30. But I think that literally walking is one of the best things that you can do for your body, mind, soul. So.
And one of the things that you don't need to pay anything to do, right? Like you need to pay a gym membership or go buy an equipment or go buy bikes. Like it's just you and your legs. And if you're lucky enough to have them, treat them to a nice walk.
Exactly.
I think that I love walking. Actually, that's one of my preferred forms of movement. And I don't know if this happens to you. Talk about creative chooses flow when you're walking. I kind of get some of my best ideas, or I make connections. I'm like, oh my God, I've been wanting to know how to best help this person. And I just figured it out as I was moving my energy. So like energy flows when you're walking. And I absolutely love that.
Totally does. Yes. It's the best.
And not like, yeah, sometimes we associate like
I'm not a person who sweats a lot. So we always have the joke that if I didn't sweat, I didn't work out hard enough. But that's just my body. I get really red. That's it. And I mean, I do sweat, but not like my sister-in-law. Just I love it. She like drips sweat just doing a little bit of biking or lifting or whatever. And I think that sometimes we have that idea that if we're not dripping, sweat, then it wasn't worth it, that we're not doing anything. But walking is so beautiful. And for any of my Canadian and North American listeners who are entering the cold months, like we are here in Ottawa, I so encourage you to challenge yourself to go for those walks, even on really cold days. Bundle up. It is so good for your mental health. Like your mental health especially needs it on months where it's darker earlier as the sun is right on my face right now and I can't even open my eyes. And as we tend to just be more isolated and receive less energy and less vitamin D from the sunshine, we really need to take care of our mental health. And it begins with making baby steps. Go out for that fresh air. It does make a massive difference.
Yes, totally. That's a great tip, especially that cold, fresh air. It wakes you up, gets your body moving.
I think to myself, if I was able to do that walk, I can do anything today. I'm good. Bring it on, life. Yes. Jamie, where can people find you? What is your program called? What does it entitle? Who's your ideal person? Like, who is this program for?
Yes, definitely. Well, I just had my website redone, so finally I can share with the world. It's my website's jaimemorocco.com, or people can reach out to me on Instagram. It's just my name, Jaime Morocco. And our bread and butter program is called Dream Body, Dream Life. And as mentioned before, we really help women achieve their body transformation goals using a combination of science, mindset, and energetics. So if there are women out there who are really looking to change, their body and release weight that they feel like might not be serving them right now, and learn how to do it permanently and keep it off intuitively, that's, our ideal client, the woman who is just done with kind of all the yo-yoing and, thinking that something's wrong with her. There's not. And we really help you understand, all, like I said, the science, mindset, and energetics of permanent body transformation.
So. I love that. So jaimemorocco.com. Your website, or this website, guys, is in the show notes. You can just head over there and click and go straight into her website. And if you felt compelled to work with Jaime, if you love her energy, I know I did. I love your energy. That's like just going to your Instagram page after I received your email. I heard you talk. I'm like, oh, she's one of us. I wanna have her in the podcast. So keep doing the work that you're doing, Jaime. I think it's inspiring. I love that there is alternatives for people to, navigate this diet culture heaviness and these self-destructive relationships that we have built with ourselves, and to do that in a way that we can do all things that we want. You can look the way you want to and feel the way you want to, without the need to sabotage or to, like, I don't know, burden yourself to the result that you want, but just do it gratefully and intuitively, as you're saying. I think that sounds amazing. So thank you so much. If ever you want to come to Canada, you're so welcome. And whenever I go to Florida in January, I will message you, and maybe we can take a photo together by the beach and tell people, hey, we met in person too.
Would love that. Thank you so much for having me, Olga. It's been wonderful.
Likewise. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hey, this is me interrupting your podcast to tell you a bit about becoming the CEO of your own life. If you are a type A kind of woman who likes making things happen, but you're sick of being a people pleaser, if you wish you could say no, but find the words to do it without worry and without creating conflict and guilt, if you expect so much of yourself that you beat yourself up to get that results that you want, if you don't know how to manage all of your thoughts and you're having a really hard time staying positive and in emotions that feel good, if you're incredibly caring, almost too much, and you find yourself taking on everything that doesn't belong to you, and especially
If you are tired of taking on others' work, chores, emotions, they don't belong to you. You're afraid of saying no. You absorb everything. I've got the program for you. Becoming the CEO of Your Own Life is an intimate group coaching program for women that leads you to finding yourself happy and find your purpose and find the confidence to live a balanced life where you can still care for others but not carry with you their weight, where you can observe what others are feeling and doing, but you don't have to absorb it and become it. Okay, if I'm speaking your language, if this sounds good to you, my next cohort opens on January of 2022. And I'm taking a few more participants. So let's get you into being confident, having a work family balance, prioritizing yourself, having that consistent motivation and strong self esteem to get things done, to make you be promoted to the CEO of your own life. If this sounds exciting to you, you can read more. The show notes have everything in there for you to click and read. It does include a one-on-one private coaching session with me and 2 group sessions. So a total of 3 calls a month. And it is honestly the perfect way of being coached. It's a hybrid of group and one-on-one. And it gives you all of my best tools to shape your mindset to get to where you want to go. Okay, talk to you soon.